good to have you on our show. You are our second guest, actually, to be on the show.
Okay.
So welcome. So why did you declare to run for the presidency and not the governor of your state or the Senate?
Well, I declared to my intention to offer myself for leadership of Nigeria as the president because the situation in our country today is really very bad. We're in a season of anomie. The economy is in a deep hole. The country has been turned into a killing field. People are being killed in various parts of the country, and the citizens are wondering, where is the state to protect us? People know that Nigeria's standing in the world has fallen. So I'm running, I'm aspiring to become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, offering myself to Nigerians to give me a chance to provide the kind of leadership that can solve these problems, the kind of leadership that can help shape the future for our children. What's the future for our children today? On current trends, it looks very bleak, but this future can be turned around by people who are competent, people who have the vision, and people who have the heart for the people of Nigeria. Now, as to whether or not, why I did not decide to run for governor, you know, you have to operate at the level of your vision. I'm operating at the level of my vision. My vision is a vision for the whole of Nigeria. I am passionate about the whole of Nigeria. I'm not just passionate about my state or the part of the country I come from. I'm just as passionate about the Southwest as I am about the Southeast. I'm as passionate about the North Central and the Northwest as I am about the South-South. So because of the level of my vision, I have to offer myself at the level where that vision can be accomplished. And that level is the level of the presidency. Also, you know that my career has been international and national all along. I served in the United Nations for 17 years at leadership levels. So I've been a global leader. And I have also served at the national level, as deputy governor of the central bank, participating in the management of the whole Nigerian economy. So therefore, my experience, my exposures naturally lead me to this level of aspiration.
We would like to know, what is your manifesto? What are we expected to see in President Moghalu's government?
There are a number of things you will see if Nigerians give me the opportunity to be president. Number one is that I am going to work with a very capable team of Nigerians. It's not the president alone who does it. You are only as good as the team you have. So the first job on day number one is to select a very competent team within 24 hours of my swearing in as president. All the top positions in the presidency, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, the National Security Advisor, the Chief of Staff to the President will be appointed. And all three of them will come from three different geopolitical zones. You're not going to see the type of thing you're seeing today, where all the three top positions in the presidency come from one geopolitical zone. That is exclusive governance. It is not inclusive governance. So I will run an inclusive and meritocratic government. That's number one. Number two, within 7 days, the cabinet will be nominated to the National Assembly for confirmation. Why will I move with this type of speed? Because between the time you have won the election and the time you have been sworn in, that's what you should be doing. You should be forming your government so that you hit the ground running. Number two, you're going to see a different type of economy in Nigeria under my presidency. We're going to reposition the economy to run on the basis of innovation and human capital. We're not going to run an oil-based economy. No, I'm sorry. Because that has not served Nigeria well. That's one of the reasons Nigeria is very poor today. I'm going to drive, my government will drive, an economy that actually creates wealth for Nigerian citizens. Number three is that we are going to embark on and achieve the constitutional restructuring of Nigeria completely within 2 years of my taking office. So these are just the highlights. There are several things, but I don't want to give you a long laundry list. I think these are the three most important things you're going to see.
But you are either known to belong to any political party right now. So what platform are you going to run?
Yes, it's a deliberate decision that I have made at this time. Obviously, I will run on the platform of a political party. A number of parties have been talking to me to adopt their platform, but I am having conversations and consultations, and within the next few weeks I'll make a final decision as to the political party on which I wish to contest for the presidency. And then, you know, I and all other Nigerians who share my vision and who are not yet affiliated might want to join that party. There we will seek the nomination and hopefully contest for the presidency on that platform.
You spoke about constitutional restructuring.
Yes.
In 2 years.
Yes.
Have you taken into consideration the obstacles you might face from the National Assembly and the normal issues that play out with religion, politics, yes, and ethnicity when it comes to such issues? Vexed issues.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, but you know, the restructuring of Nigeria is something that I think a consensus has formed in Nigeria broadly, that Nigeria needs to be restructured because Nigeria is not working in its current form. So I think, yes, there will be a process of consultation with all the parts of the country, with the National Assembly. It's going to be an inclusive, participatory, and consultative process. But I'm sure, and I'm quite confident, that Nigerians will be able to come to an agreement on how to reshape the country constitutionally to be much more effectively governed, to have a better economy, and for us to have peace and stability. One of the reasons why this country is no longer stable is precisely because of its current corrupted form of federalism that we are practicing, where all the powers are in Abuja and governors and people in states and regions cannot, you know, take care of their own security. That's just not good at all. So I feel confident that Nigerians will be able to reach an agreement on how to restructure the country.
Okay, so what's your assessment of the present administration?
My assessment is that the present government has been a massive and colossal failure. I was one of those who had high hopes for this government because of I was one of the many millions of Nigerians who held such high expectations that helped this government to come in, and people expected much more. And unfortunately, they've just not been able to deliver, neither on the basis of the economy, nor on the question of national unity. Nigeria is much more divided today than at any other time before or since the Civil War. So that cannot be an achievement. That is failure in any book, in any exam. You know, the economy is in the doldrums. We've just come out of one of the worst recession we've had in nearly 30 years. And the incompetence of economic management has been part of the reason for that recession. It's not the only reason. There are some structural and historical reasons. But, you know, the situation, the challenges were not well managed. If they were well managed, we would not have had the type of recession that we had. So, you know, on the things that matter most, this government has simply not delivered. They've not delivered on national unity. They've not delivered on the economy.
One of the
and even in the fight against corruption, which was one of the reasons they were voted in, they have also not delivered what they promised. You know, corruption is still rife in this country. There are many allegations of corruption against members of this particular government, but we find that you know, corruption has been turned into a political football. It's a political weapon against members of the opposition. Therefore, you have to question the credibility of a fight against corruption, or a so-called fight against the corruption that is just one-sided. When people who are affiliated with the current people in political power are accused of corruption, it's swept under the carpet. But when people who belong to other parties or who are not in the government are accused, then they're tried in the pages of newspapers, and yet there are no real convictions based on facts.
Many are of the opinion Igbos should wait for 2023 to run for the presidency.
Let me be very, very clear and emphatic. I am not an Igbo candidate for the presidency of Nigeria. I am a Nigerian candidate for the Nigerian presidency. my aspiration is not based on any ethnic agenda. My aspiration is based on my vision for 180 million Nigerians. Therefore, I do not take into consideration those types of arguments. Some people who think and operate along the ethnic paradigms may wish to operate on that basis, but I don't. Therefore, I think it's the turn of a competent Nigerian who is visionary, who is competent, who has the character to come to the presidency if the Nigerians give him an opportunity, or her an opportunity. So that's the basis on which I have this aspiration, and I'm seeking the opportunity to provide leadership that will take Nigeria into the 21st century. All these ethnicity and religion, they are backward. That's one of the reasons we are so backward. That's one of the reasons we are so poor as a country. And we continue to wallow in these things and to speed backwards in time instead of marching forward in progress into the 21st century. I really, really, really want to ask Nigerians to let go of ethnicity and tribalism. And we are talking about the new tribe now. And I believe I represent that new tribe, a new tribe of Nigerians that has a Nigerian identity. It doesn't mean we're not Hausas, Yorubas, or Igbos, and that's all right. But we have a national identity because we are together one nation. There are many countries in the world that have different ethnic groups. But why is it that it's only Nigerians? Their ethnicity becomes so pronounced, far more than the national identity. I would like, working with Nigerians, for Nigeria to be turned from a country into a real nation.
Speaking of identity, being a Nigerian president, how much consultation have you done before declaring? What are the feelers you get from South, West, North, East, and all that? 6 geopolitical. How much consultation have you done?
Yeah.
And what, if you are to rate the kind of support you are getting right now, what will it be?
Yeah, it's very interesting. For the past 3 months, I have been crisscrossing Nigeria, doing the work of the Institute for Governance and Economic Transformation, but also talking to people about what they feel about leadership in Nigeria. And one of the reasons I have made this decision to offer myself is because I have come under tremendous pressure from young people in the southwest of Nigeria, from young people in the northern states of Nigeria, from young people in the south-south, from people in the southeast. So across the whole country, I have come under immense pressure to put myself forward to serve Nigeria because these young people have seen in my career and in my activities or in my vision something that they themselves also identify with. So this vision of mine is collective. It's not just my own personal vision. It's a vision that represents the vision of many millions of Nigerians. So I have had consultations across the whole country, and I have received a lot of support and encouragement. No question about it. And that's one of the reasons why I feel very confident to take this step.
So while crisscrossing, what were those challenges you noticed, and how are you going to go about addressing them?
Yeah. In the course of my consultations, people raised a number of issues. They felt, that the leadership they have now has been disappointing. And people are wondering, what will you do that will be different from what they have become used to getting? So the skepticism of many Nigerians across the country about the political class in Nigeria in general is very strong. And I do agree with them. The political class has failed. And that I'm not a politician, but the path to political authority goes through politics in a democracy. And so therefore, we should not shy away from politics. We should engage with politics. I've also seen a lot of hope, I think, that someone like myself is offering himself to come forward. Many people are very gratified because they feel that, okay, now we're not looking at a usual type of politician. We're looking at people who are more technocratic, but who are visionary or who, have passion for the masses. So again, that's one of the things I've seen. I have not really met any obstacle that is very major in my consultations. I never met rejection. I never met any doubts as to whether or not I have what it takes to be able to take Nigeria forward. So it has actually been a rather very pleasant process.
What will you have to say to those in the Southeast talking about the Biafra struggle and voters?
Yeah.
2019?
Yeah, I will say this to the Southeast, to my brothers and sisters in the Southeast. The agitation for Biafra, we understand that it is a cry for justice at the bottom of it all. But the method for how justice can be achieved is what is the issue. Biafra, in terms of physical secession from Nigeria, is not a realistic path to follow. I believe in the unity of Nigeria, but I believe in a Nigeria in which equity and justice for all will exist. And therefore, that's why I think it's important that all Nigerians engage in the political process and stop being apathetic. Stop avoiding voting. Go and vote. Get your voter's card and vote the right types of leaders into office. And then perhaps you will have the hope of a nation where peace and justice will reign. That's what we need. Vote out those who are not committed to equity and justice, and vote in those who will bring equity and justice. But secession is not the answer. Biafra, in terms of breaking away from Nigeria, is not the answer. I mean, this country was built by everyone, but everybody knows that the Southeast really played a huge role in what became Nigeria. We had people like Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, great politicians like Akanu Ibiam, Emma Okpara, and so on, Nwafo Rizu. I mean, in the 60s and 50s, when others were talking about secession, the people, the political leaders from the Southeast were the ones, making the case for one Nigeria, especially in the 50s. So it's an irony now that anybody should be talking about our breaking away. I understand what the problems are, but let's face those problems in the context of one Nigeria and try to solve them with our brothers and sisters across the rest of the country.
On a final note, you recently launched your book. What's in it that you want Nigerians to get, and what are the solutions in there you want Nigeria to?
Well, my new book, Big, Build, Innovate, and Grow, is a vision for how Nigeria's problems can be addressed. In the book, I discuss what I call the foundations. Foundations like what leadership means, like why we need to have a worldview, a national philosophy that drives our governance, what good governance means, how to really fight corruption, and why institutions matter. Now, I also discuss nation building, the role of women, the role of the youth in nation building, very, very important. Women and youth, I think, are critical elements of nation building in this country that have not been tapped into as much as we should. And so I offer visions for how to improve the positioning of women in the society. I believe in gender equality, and my government, if I'm given the chance, will have a 50-50 gender parity policy in political appointments. We will be appointing as many women as men, but we will be looking for competent men and women. We will not appoint anybody just because they're men or just because they're women. No. Because, as I told you at the beginning, merit is going to be a guiding principle in my government. And then we discuss, in the book I also discuss the economy. I believe that our economy should be driven by innovation and skilled human capital. And I also show how this should be done. And again, I talk about the reform of our diplomatic machinery, our foreign policy, how to build an effective foreign policy. But you know that a good foreign policy can only proceed on the basis of a strong domestic foundation. So you have to build the nation, you have to build the economy, and from both bases, you project yourself into the world as a big and powerful and economically prosperous country.
So you spoke about the failure of this government in security. So Nigerians would like to know the solution you are bringing to the table to address this issue of insecurity once and for all.
Yeah. First of all, the government has failed in security because they have interpreted security simply as fighting Boko Haram. That is a very narrow definition of security. We've seen that even the Boko Haram they have not been able to defeat Boko Haram. But they have been able to degrade Boko Haram, and that is a good thing. But multiple other security challenges have cropped up. The herdsmen issue, the kidnappings, and so on. So they were not prepared. They were not equipped. The first issue in security is to have a multi-dimensional definition of what securing this country means. It means you and me sleeping at night comfortably, not sleeping with one eye open. Whether it's Boko Haram, whether it's the herdsmen, whether it's kidnappers, whether it's armed robbers. What does this come down to? The quality of Nigeria's police force needs to be massively improved. We have only 300,000 policemen in Nigeria, and I want to let you know that perhaps 1/3 of them are busy guarding VIPs in their homes. You and I are not secure. So, Nigeria needs not less than 1.5 to 2 million policemen in order to be able to effectively cover the security challenges. So, this is an area where the government needs to invest. We need to invest in police reform, recruiting new policemen, training them. It's not enough to recruit policemen. We have a lot of policemen, but they're not very well trained. We don't have forensic capabilities in the Nigerian police force in this country. So we need to train our police. They need to become specialized. The police force needs to now, operate on the basis of specialization. Some people will handle crimes. Some people will handle cyber issues. Some people will handle, all kinds of security threats. So training, recruitment, equipment. The army is being increasingly used in place of the police. This is wrong. We are militarizing this country because of our failure in national security. The military should fight Boko Haram. That's a terrorist group. But the military should not be deployed against citizens of Nigeria. That's not what an army is. So there's a failure of conceptual clarity in terms of what security requires in Nigeria. And there is no political will to actually do the right thing. Now, also, finally, we're coming to agreement that state police is necessary. You need state police under the commands of different states. But there can be an arrangement of overall coordination or even powers of reversion to the federal security, to the federal police, just in case any governor or any political operative starts trying to use the state police to challenge the authority of the federal government. We don't want that situation as well. But that's no excuse to say that all the police in Nigeria should be based from Abuja. It's not working, as we have seen.
So what are your plans to generate jobs for the youth?
Yes, we have over 33 million young people in this country who are either unemployed or underemployed. In my government, the plan is this. We are going to do two important things. The first is that we're going to create a venture capital fund of a minimum of 500 billion naira. We're going to scrap this 500 billion naira social intervention program that this government is running because it's a pipeline of waste and corruption. It's not doing anything. You're giving people 5,000 naira a month who are unemployed. What does 5,000 naira do for you? We're going to turn it into a venture capital fund that will invest in new businesses, for people to start new businesses. We know that small businesses are what create jobs in most capitalist economies, and we're going to do the same thing in Nigeria. So the more we help business creation, the more we help to educate people who are unemployed with skills, vocational skills, to start their own businesses and give them capital to do so. That is how you wipe out unemployment. So, and we're going to be reforming the educational system of Nigeria to lean far more towards vocational skills, entrepreneurship. We're going to teach people how to set up their own businesses. Recently, I spoke at the University of Nigeria, and I spoke on innovation and the wealth of nations, the case for an innovation economy in Nigeria. Another way to grow the economy, and for me the most important way, is to have an innovation-driven economy. Lots of young people invent things. they innovate, but you will never see those things in the marketplace or on the shelves. And that's because the pipeline from invention and innovation to the marketplace is very weak. There's no enabling environment. We'll create policies, bring business people to invest into those things so that there will be mass production. And then we will have trade policy that gives them some sort of protection so that imported goods from China are not cheaper than those things that they're inventing and manufacturing here. Now, this is how jobs will be created. We have to really completely reorient the educational system of Nigeria. Not everybody can have a white-collar job. The days in which you graduate and go into the customs and go into the government and the civil service, they're over. Most jobs in the modern economy are driven by innovation. Most jobs are driven by entrepreneurship, small business. So that is where our policy focus will be. And when we create this venture capital fund, when we teach people how to undertake entrepreneurship, we will see unemployment begin to go down. Recently, I was at the University of Nigeria to give a lecture, and the Isaac Moghalu Foundation, which is a philanthropic foundation that I founded 12 years ago, we decided to offer scholarships to 50 students of the University of Nigeria in Nsukka to study entrepreneurship online. They will be taught how to make soap. They will be taught how to make cosmetics. They will be taught how to make shoe polish. They will be taught how to make all sorts of small things that if you put your hands into it, there's demand for it, and you can actually prosper. So these are practical things, and I'm just giving you a personal example of what I myself have done to support entrepreneurship at a philanthropic personal level. But if we're given the chance to form the government, we will do much more. And that's why I'm talking about the need for this 500 billion naira venture capital fund. It's critical for Nigeria's economic survival.
Thank you very much, sir, for honoring us and being our second guest on the show.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to be on the Sun TV.